welcome back. I'm your local Samaritan, Samara O'Gorman, and this is the first interview. Today we talked to Kerwins Saint Jean, who co-organized the Sherbrooke protest last week in Sherbrooke. Over 2,000 people attended not only to honor the memory of George Floyd, but also to denounce racism in the area. Before we get into the interview, since this was my first episode, there were some technical difficulties and I thought it was quite humorous, so I decided to keep them in. Take a look. Hello? I think you're muted, Kerwins. It's okay, I'm a patient lady, so it'll all work out. He's talking, but I don't know if he's talking to me because I can't hear anything. Oh, I hear you! Okay.
Wait, I could do better. I can definitely do better. My first time ever doing light work.
I support you. I'm your cheerleader from afar.
Thing. I went through a thing.
This is gonna be great material for bloopers.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if you're able to hold your laptop for that long, this will go swell. Let's just pretend none of that happened and
None
like
of
we
what
start
happened?
fresh. Yeah, what? Hi, how are
Exactly.
you?
Hey, first time doing this. Like
Nice to
no
see you.
papers.
We eventually got everything established and the interview commenced. I hope you enjoy. Here is Kerwins Saint Jean talking everything from kindness, empathy, and the Black Lives Matter movement. So, welcome to the first episode of Your Local Samaritan. Thanks for being the first person I'm interviewing, Kerwins.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone watching at home, Kerwins is one of my close friends. We met online, like what, now 6 or 7 years ago? I think it's going to be 7.
2013.
Yeah. And we've been like pen pal online friends ever since. We've only met in person once, but right? But I would say we're really close despite that factor.
Let's do it.
So if you guys don't already know, Kerwins co-organized the Sherbrooke protest last week that had over 2,000 people attend. It was such a great turnout. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but from what it looked like, it turned out amazing. So my first question to you is, how did you feel to see your community join together in this fight against racism in your hometown?
It was beautiful. I could have not asked for anything more perfect than what that protest started out, beginning, middle, and end. Honestly, fun fact: the police officer actually estimated it was between 2,500 to over 3,000 people who came up. So
Oh,
that
wow.
also is a plus. And yeah, just to see a community like fight a cause that, yeah, right. So just to see a community fight a cause that touches them near and dear to the hearts, whether because they lived it or they have friends and neighbors who have lived it, it was amazing. And not only was it a diverse group of people of all ethnicities, but as well as
Mm-hmm.
age groups too. I saw kids who were like no less than 7 years old to grandfathers, grandmothers who are no older than, I would say, in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s at some point. And yeah, I could really be more proud than what happened. Honestly, I'm grateful. And for those who may be watching of the Sherbrooke area, thank you so much for attending.
So my second question for you is that you actually mentioned in a video, well, and it was an interview at TVA Nouvelle, that there is no doubt that there are visible minorities in Sherbrooke, and it's still a place of racism. Tell us about your experiences, surrounding that and how you've dealt with it personally.
Dang, jeez. There's actually been a few experiences for me, quite honestly. First off, in the workspace, I, as like, just to give you an idea how crazy it is, my first job was at 18 years old. And usually people who would get a job would be experienced with like 14, 15, or 16. And to give you an idea of that experience, that microaggression is this. I have numerous friends who are dominantly white who would put their CVs out for summer jobs. and the counter one would be at the Metro Dash IGA, very close to the neighborhood. We all quite literally have no job experience other than the fact that we clean dishes, do small tasks, did look for the word bénévolat. I can't seem to remember what the word is in English, ironically enough. But yeah, just like yeah, community work. There you go, free community work, and like all that good stuff. And like some of us have the same criteria, if not more than others. And I had grown up a lot of that criteria, knowing that it would be very beneficial for me. I also list down like I know more than three languages in case if there's any help with those who are who do not speak either English or French, and all that good stuff. Yet
Wow.
somehow all my friends, who again were predominantly white, they got the job in less than a week. Yet I had to send in my CV more than 9 times just to get a callback and say that thank you for your interest, but we have found other people. So
Well,
yeah, that's the
Kerwins,
good
it's
stuff.
it's really disheartening to hear that. On my end, I think racism and hate should never have had a place on this earth. You should judge a person by their character, by their personality, by their judgment. You should never, ever judge a person on the color of their skin. So thank you for opening up and sharing about those stories. My third question to move on now is from what I've seen and noticed over the course of these protests and marches so far is that there are two groups attending. The first group genuinely wants to fight for a change against systemic racism, and the second group that is attending these gatherings evidently just want to like steal or break public infrastructures. What message would you give this second group, as I know all you're trying to do is fight for peace?
Great question on that. Honestly, especially in the United States, because it does have the historical significance, how the country was built off of free labor, slavery, of course, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. So for those who are vandalizing the first week, and also we're just sick, tired, sick, tired. I don't condone their actions, but I do understand uh,
Mm-hmm.
deeply as to why they did. Again, like I said previously, if they even after the 200 over 400 no sorry over 244 years of the United States inception, they were still criticized as lazy, mass incarceration, so essentially just a version of slavery, the death toll, incarcerating police officers, like segregation, Jim Crow laws, all that, and then just other new tactics to put down the black community and also communities of color. So again, the actions are just uncalled, essentially uncalled for. I would say maybe like later on the few weeks that passed, but I guess the first week of the reaction of George Floyd, and again that being a one of the 5 stages of grief, I understand. So I do understand, but
Yeah.
right now, as what we have right now in this community, we technically have this non-figure white supremacy like down by the throat. So right, and with everything going on, not only in the United States but around the world, the whole world has come together, even knowing that they risk their health and their livelihood, are are in solidarity with us in the community. So we have them by the neck, right? So right now, all we have to do is just keep pressing on, and then with the acts that have happened so far with the protests, there will be change. And as for those who do it peacefully, I salute to you. Keep fighting the good fight. I know the police officers, or generally speaking, the police officers or people of authority, have been pushing you back and showing nothing but lethal action. So I know that generally speaking, it's not your fault. And they just only base off what the minority or the majority do when it comes to the reaction and protest of George Floyd's death and everything around it. So yeah, those who are just trying to commit chaos, shame on you. Sincerely, knowing the fact that there's something more going on. But for those who are keep doing a good fight peacefully, I salute to you, and I sincerely hope for the best. Okay.
It's obvious that George Floyd,
Right.
brought up so many underlying issues in our society, and it's evidently a time for a change, but all of us are properly educating ourselves right now on topics like this. And since it's only the beginning, are you working on organizing a second protest in Sherbrooke or a surrounding area?
Honestly, that's a very good question. We've ever since the protest happened, this is something. Okay, just to give you like a little summary, nothing like this has really ever happened other than the protest against the environment, right? Well, not against, but for the protection of the environment for the world, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And something like this, like injustice, especially in a small town, or significantly like semi-rural, semi-small town that is Sherbrooke. They haven't seen like something like this like ever, right? So this really like, impacted a lot, especially around the black community, or whether I go to the barbershop where it's predominantly black or rich minorities that surround there. Like people ask, like, what's the big thing? Like you started something like it's revolutionary and to be remembered, right? You did it peacefully too, at the first try, no less. You're young, you're talking with young people, you're the next generation to carry the torch of this injustice, right? So you like, like all this, not necessarily pressure, but there's like tough love and encouragement, like you gotta do more, right? Like you can't just stop here now. It can't be like a one and done situation. So honestly, I can't say much because again, we're trying to build the foundation of this whole group doing, but I can say this. Myself and those who are involved in the protest and making the protest happen are doing our best to move forward and making hopefully a you could say a freedom fighter esque type group
Oh,
to
that's
battle
great.
injustice. Yeah, to battle injustice, whether it be again over protest or simply the small things. Show off a gala that is predominantly black art. Fashion shows that show off black beauty and black girl magic. Like all of those things. Like the battle doesn't have to be always so. Um, nah, not. Sorry, I'm trying to find my words. See,
It's okay.
I'm sorry about that. But like just itself, like the battle against racism and injustice, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like like always marching all the time. It can be small things, right? Education,
Yeah.
talking at the dinner table for those who always had an excuse for saying such awful things because I'm drunk or back in my day this is my mindset. No, let's hold those
Mm-hmm.
accountable. It's also showing off that like hey, we're not the only ones here. There's actually a group here that's even small. It's very influential. Like black culture, black music is something that's a big part of not only North
Yeah.
America but around the world. So it's all stuff like that we're going to be presenting ourselves in the near future with hopefully COVID-19 and pandemic going down and with everything going on, it's going smoothly. So I have good faith. So again, no protests I can think of per se, but we're all working on other projects that could show off the voices of the unheard for the black community and as well as the
Perfect.
color. So yeah,
That's great. You know how they say hindsight's 2020. I think this is a really positive movement that's happening right now, and it's time to highlight those local Black artists, those local Black shops, singers, dancers, creators, everything. It's
yes,
their time. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump into my last question for
all
this
right, thanks.
interview. Also, you articulated that beautifully, so I support anything that you choose to do.
Thank you very much.
So
Likewise.
I'm a strong believer that kindness and empathy can change the world, and that's what my message is at the Kindness Initiative, Your Local Samaritan. And
Mm,
I definitely know that you can put that towards Black Lives Matter as well. I believe that kindness and empathy and understanding can really develop this movement. So, Kerwins, I have
yeah.
one last question for you. What do you personally think kindness is so important? Why do you think kindness is so important?
I mean, honestly, at this point, we can't fight fire with fire, right? Even though I'm not gonna lie, I've have certain viewpoints where it might can be kind of contradicting because with everything going on and white supremacy and with history going back as like less than 60 years ago, like we have shown kindness with MLK, and even at that, he was still considered as a terrorist because of his viewpoints of equality. I know it's a little bit different here, but like in context, it's somewhat the same title, like different titles, same story. So I know that a big part of kindness and empathy works out because knowing that this started off with white privilege, right, and exploitation of those of the minority group,
Mm.
it's harsh to say, but it's fact. It did started with you. However, right, it could also end with you too, right? So holding yourself accountable, holding those around you accountable, holding politicians accountable, people of power accountable, doing these things, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it can change the world. Well, fantastic. Thank you, Kerwins, for joining and taking the time out of your day to partake in this interview. Again, I'm so proud of everything that you did in Sherbrooke, and I think this is only the beginning for you.
Thank you very much. Honestly, like I'm much more proud of you than anything else. You are out here hustling from dancer to actress and now journalist. Like that is leaps upon leaps when it comes to career choices and just career, like hobbies and whatnot. Like not even hobbies, just career paths in general. Honestly, and I have so many words in my mind that's want to spit out of my mouth right now. But just honestly, I have nothing but pride and hopes and gratitude and just I'm happy for you. That's I guess the simple way of saying is I'm very happy for you and I'm proud of you, Mrs. Samara. And I hope for everything to go smoothly well for your future endeavors.
I hope you have a wonderful evening. Everyone watching at home, thanks for watching the first episode of Your Local Samaritan. You can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. I have a blog, or you can watch this on YouTube. So thanks, guys,
Anytime.
for joining, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, kindness is key. Spread kindness today and always. Bye.
Bye. Take care.